Hey guys, Lisandro here, and today I want to do a continuation on my communication series. So last time I covered the topic of pretty much involving our emotions, letting our emotions get in the way, letting our pride get in the way when we involve ourselves in debates, and how our emotions can cloud our judgment, affect how we express ourselves when we debate, and also not just that, also being a sophist, which is pretty much where your concern is mostly winning the argument rather than observing the facts, rather than interpreting what the other person's saying or what you are saying, regardless if you are right or wrong. But anyway, today what I want to focus on is pretty much making claims. Making claims, baseless claims, without having evidence to back it up. And this is something very, very common today, and especially in really heated, controversial topics. For example, whenever debating evolution, religion, debating things in which things are seemingly pseudoscience, or debating historical facts, things like that. Any place where there's controversy or political ideologies, things like that. So anyway, so a lot of the time people make claims about certain things based on their own perception. Now, the thing is that while some things are interesting to other people, a lot of the times, a lot of the things you see in the media, especially in science, and let me focus on science. When you see a person come out with this invention, this device, or this technology, they show a lot of these interesting forms of technology. Really interesting. Now, the problem is that among a lot of those blogs, a lot of those posts, a lot of those claims, there are a lot of what I like to call pseudoscience. And what pseudoscience is defined as a collection of beliefs or practices mistakenly regarded as being based on scientific method. So basically a bad application of the scientific method. And because of that, you end up with invalid results. And the thing is that other people tend to follow, other people tend to believe it, and before you know it, people are following something that is not true. For example, solar roadways. And I just got finished watching one of Thunderfoot's videos in regard to solar roadways. And the problem with solar roadways, it sounds interesting, it sounds great and all, but it's only a baseless claim, like a baseless claim, because it's very impractical. Why? The vehicles that pass on the road, the tires and all the dirt, grime, and whatever the road picks up is very abrasive. It would instantly wear out glass layer or whatever they're layering the solar panel with very quickly. And what would happen is that it would diminish the amount of light it receives, not to mention a lot of implications, making the device weatherproof. And in essence, it becomes very impractical. It isn't cost effective. And I say, if this guy went to Kevin O'Leary, one of the sharks from Shark Tank, he would instantly fail. He would instantly fail at promoting this project to them or any of their other sharks on Shark Tank. But anyway, that's not the point of this. The point of this is baseless claims, and it's very common. Now, one of the things I want to say is that to start off, whenever you see something, whenever you come across information, a blog or something, always check the source, because the thing is, a lot of the times the source is full of biases, and the thing is that in science you're not supposed to have any biases because it affects your results. It ends up affecting your results, and because of that you get inaccurate results. Okay, now getting back to like claims, but I guess in the debate world, like I like to call it, the debate world, you're always supposed to like do your research. One of the things that you never want to do is go ahead and get in an argument without doing your research first, thoroughly doing research. Because if you do not do your research, you'll get a lot of things inaccurate, and the other person's very likely to win the argument. Of course, some of the most common things that you see in the debates of today are pretty much where your opponent attacks, like verbally attacks you, insults you. They employ a lot of logical fallacies, circular arguments, and they do all sorts of different illogical and irrational things in order to prevent you from winning the argument. But my thing is that if you have to employ things like that, then in reality you already lost. I'll get into that later on my communication series, but anyway, you always want to do your research. You always want to check your references, check what your references are. There's a reason why you're supposed to have your results reproducible. What I mean by this is that if you do an experiment and you end up with a result, you are supposed to do the experiment again and end up with the same results, or at least similar results. Why? Because the thing is that if you only end up with one result, chances are you made a mistake, or it's just like I like to call it, a one-hit wonder. And this is why the scientific community is very strict with methods and procedures that you apply. The same in the engineering world. They're very strict with that because it's very easy to mess up on your calculation, mess up on your results, because a lot of the methods and procedures that you do can easily be influenced by outside factors. So that's why you have to have everything regimented, everything very strict and all. And this is very important because if you're creating something where it's gonna service a lot of people and you do mistakes, that puts people at risk. One of these examples of this is in engineering. There's a lot of engineering failures throughout history. There was a dam that broke because of failures. Of course, some of the failures that there have been in engineering is more as a result of money, capitalism, or some form of corruption here or there. And when you're building something and you make mistakes, you don't want somebody who gets inaccurate results working on, like, for example, nuclear power plants, or working on a bridge that's like miles high, connecting like two mountains, or anything that puts you relative amount of risk. No, you want someone who's very strict with the facts. And that's what I like about facts. That's why I like to focus things that are rational and logical, because logic does not lie. Logic is impartial. It does not care what you think about it. It does not care how you perceive it or anything. What is. And that's the aspects of objectivity. things are not affected or influenced or swayed by the opinions of others. It just is. Unless of course you get into the whole argument of solipsism and all. And like I have said time and time again, one of the biggest mistakes people make is that people take into account that things that are objective are subjective and vice versa. But anyway, I guess this is all that I'm gonna cover in regard to this. Like I said, always check your reference, always be skeptical of claims. And what I mean by this is question what is being claimed and cross-reference it, check it. Now, one thing I also advise is don't be purposely ignorant. Don't be willfully ignorant. Because if you become very willfully ignorant, and what I mean by this is pretty much being skeptical to an irrational extent, pretty much where you question everything to the point where there is no facts to be analyzed, you're likely to make very irrational assumptions. And this is something very common in religion. But I'm not going to get into religion or anything like that. What I mean by this is including this following argument. Okay, so a person says, I don't believe the moon exists. And then you say, yeah, you can see in a telescope, it does exist. Okay, the person says, no, that's a large wallpaper. And then you say, there's been pictures from NASA or something like that. You reference NASA, and then this person says, have you seen the moon up close? Then you obviously say no because you haven't been there. And then because of the fact that you say no, that person discredits you. Now that is willful ignorance, because you discredit your sources, you discredit like your facts, your evidence, things like that. Now, of course, I know there's people that are gonna jump on the topic of NASA, conspiracy theories, and things like that. I'll save that for another video. But like I said, do not be willfully ignorant. Don't be purposely ignorant, because there is a certain extent where you have to make pragmatic assumptions. Otherwise, if you question everything to an irrational extent, then you end up with nothing. You end up making irrational assumptions. And the thing is that everything can be verified, but because of a person's ability to not provide the evidence directly, these people tend to discredit them. For example, if a person believes that germs don't exist, there is evidence that these bacteria can be seen through a microscope. Because of the fact that I do not possess a microscope of whatever magnitude they use to observe these microorganisms, bacteria, then I cannot provide it directly. However, I can provide the source. Now, if they choose to question the source or not, that's entirely up to them and all. But anyway, I leave you with this. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and pledge to my Patreon, and especially now because the whole deal with YouTube and everything. My channel's under 10K, so until I get to 10K lifetime views, I'm not gonna be able to make any money from this. This is entirely to provide y'all with content, but also raise my views to 10K. But anyway, guys, I'll catch you guys next time.